Okay, so Ruth wanted to know about cutting back. A number of questions were about cutting back, or what's often called now Chelsea chop, because that happens around the time that the Chelsea
Mhm.
flower show in England happens. But getting the timing right. For keeping, well, there's two ways that the Chelsea chop can affect things: keeping really tall plants shorter, or delaying the bloom time, or making maybe smaller flowers but more, or whatever. And she said, I would like to have some blossoming forbs and grasses no more than 4 feet high in one of my small meadows. So, does anyone want to respond to that? Have you tried the Chelsea chop, or what I had been calling myself in my own yard radical pruning? More than just a few little snips, but
I'm
uh,
particularly interested in things like the taller asters and the Rudbeckia and Joe Pyeweed,
yeah.
you know, things like that that I can let grow tall in my backyard garden, but I'd like it to be more better scale of height for for the shrubs that are still fairly small in my front yard.
Mhm.
So, and I didn't know if those take well to cutting during the season or not.
Well, Janet, you've cut. I know what was the one you
Joe
just
Pye.
Joe pie.
Joe pie,
Yeah.
and I have to tell you that here in North Carolina we have a Joe pie in our front yard that has got to be 15 feet
Yeah.
tall.
As I'm, yeah, I
Yeah.
know.
Clearly, nobody cut it back,
Yeah.
but
But yeah, just I can offer my experience, and I'm sure some of you also have experiences with this. I've been experimenting with that. Now, things like Joe Pye, and by the way, I've been training myself to say Joe Pye and not Joe Pye weed, because
I
people
know.
get put off by the
Sorry.
word weed. So I'm trying to change that whole dynamic. But anyway, um, especially the plants where I have a number of them. I've tried experimenting and comparing the ones I didn't do anything to the ones I did do something to. I've tried with Joe Pye, with the late bone set, which can get quite tall, um, and well, some of the uh, Rudbeckias, Liciata, the greenhead coneflower, and so on. And I've found it to be really amazing. Even the hibiscus, the native hibiscus, which can get quite tall. I have it in my house strip, and I've cut that back usually like early June, and that's kept them small enough to be in the health strip, but still bloom. And I've had that experience with the other ones too. They still bloom, but they are shorter. So, and I think it's just been about, early June that I've done that. Some of
Oh,
the official
good
stuff
job.
says like cut like a third back. I've
Mhm.
when it's still actively growing, I've cut them maybe by a half. Um, Carol, I think you've had experience too.
Yeah, not with those flowers, but Ruth, did you have a comment? Were you about to say something?
No, no.
Oh, uh, yeah. So my Chelsea chop story has more to do with common milkweed,
Oh, yeah.
which has grown in my garden for 10 years. It comes up all over the place. I just let it come up and I'm all excited. I want a monarch to come to it. Darn it. And they come and they fly around but I've never seen a caterpillar on any of this milkweed. So this year, the milkweeds come up and they get greasy looking and kind of leathery leaved. And there was a patch near my front door, so I chopped it to the ground, just right down to the ground. And about a couple weeks later, it was like a shrub and come back. And darn if there weren't three caterpillars on it.
Oh, wow.
So I learned my lesson that monarchs, and I cut it back like mid-June, probably a little bit later than I needed to. I could have done it sooner, but the monarchs on their way back south, they need fresh green leaves. And so, ding, I put it together. That I'm going to cut it all back next year. That whatever comes up, I'm going to cut it all back because it comes right back. It comes. I couldn't believe it. I wasn't paying attention. And one day I looked out the window, I was like, what's that shrub? Where did that come from? It was amazing.
That
So
really is interesting.
if you have common milkweed and it gets grungy looking come mid-July, well, you should cut it before that. Even if you cut it in late July, it'll come back. But so that's my Chelsea chop story. I'm sorry I haven't tried it. Oh, I have tried it on Canada goldenrod, and nothing kills that. So, but it keeps it short.
I've noticed that with goldenrod, when I have cut that around a Memorial Day, that you cut one, but you get two stalks back, so it makes it thicker. And I've never gotten the time right for having it blossom. So I haven't.
Okay.
So
I have so much of it. I couldn't. I haven't done a disciplined experiment with the goldenrod. So I have
Dave?
to try it.
the one that we have that we've had to cut back because it grows right next to our driveway, and if it gets that tall, it flops over, is New England aster.
Yep.
They'll get 6, 7 feet tall sometimes, growing right out there in the sun. And so we'll usually cut them not down to the ground, but cut maybe a third or a half of them off early June, second week in June, and then again often in early July. So I'll hit them twice, each time taking maybe a foot off of the plants. And if that's doesn't seem to affect them at all, as far as they still bloom fine end of August into September, almost into October, and then only end up being 4.5 to 5 feet tall, instead of 6, 7.
That actually makes sense to me to do that to asters because when I was much, much younger, I was just an assistant hired at a greenhouse. And one of the tasks that we had to do was to pinch back the chrysanthemums. And you have to keep those chrysanthemums pinched back early in the year because if you don't, they'll get, real tall and leggy and top heavy and they'll bloom too soon. And so they pinch them back so that they get bushier and stronger and then they bloom at the right time. And so they're related. Does that make sense?
With the Joe Pye weed, I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I have done the Chelsea chop around the outside and then let some of the top ones in the middle still be themselves. And I liked that look. I'll do that again this year. So that the outside ones aren't flopping and they're kind of holding up the ones in the middle if they decide to bend.
I've
When
got
you,
a interesting.
when you cut them,
I didn't even pay attention. I just go by what they look like, and I just I didn't have a set schedule, so I don't know. Can't answer that, unfortunately.
And just to add to what Carol said about the common milkweed, I know that Jim of Butterfly Effects, when he was delivering plants, that was something he had mentioned too, that I think he said that someone had accidentally kind of mowed down his common milkweed. And so he felt bad about it. But then he said, like Carol's experience, that it just came up beautifully and was really supporting monarch butterflies. So it's interesting, like the experimentation that everyone is doing things a little differently. And that's what makes gardening fun. You can experiment with these things and see what the results are. So yeah, it's interesting seeing how you're doing things differently. Any other responses to the Chelsea chop or pruning? Okay, so that's a good thing to be thinking of and experimenting with. Let me see here. I'm trying to find it. Let's see. Jean said, oh, the identifying invasive bushes about, she sent a picture of the honeysuckle, and the iNaturalist had identified it as honeysuckle, but before she cut it, she wanted to be sure that it was honeysuckle. And I'd have to agree that you can't, I mean, seek, which is part of iNaturalist, seek and iNaturalist are pretty good, but they're not 100% yet. So it is good to kind of check. And one thing you could do, which isn't soon, I guess, we won't be meeting in person until January, but you could cut some off and bring them into the meeting and have some other people look if you want to be really sure. And it is true that non-native shrubs will tend to keep their leaves during winter. And certainly, our evergreens are going to be green during the winter, and some things like holly or rhododendron will be green of native plants. But I don't know if there's a honeysuckle look-alike that would still be green. Anybody think of any?
One plant ID'd it as Moro's honeysuckle, which is
Uh-huh.
one that they say is great to have. However, my interest is kind of wide ranging in that I can tell buckthorn summer, winter. I know it's bark now, and we are building a retirement home next to our current home and selling this home, and we'll have 6.5 acres to landscape and create meadow, and surrounding the open area is where all these wooded areas are that are full of invasives.
Mhm.
I'm not even sure we'd call it wooded. I think we'd call it a buckthorn forest.
Yes.
And so as I discover things, I don't want to get rid of the ones that are good, but winter is a great time to weed out like the buckthorns and the worst of the invasives there, if I can figure out which is which.
Mhm.
So that's kind of like I'm ordering a couple books about identifying bark and how to identify things. Most of them say you identify by the leaves, but there are bark patterns that are really different, and growth patterns. Like I now know gray dogwood because it grows in giant clumps. That's become very invasive on our property because it just unchecked, it just will keep sending out its suckers and growing in bigger and bigger clumps. So I'm going to thin those, but keep those.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and it's just like a crapshoot. And I'm glad to hear everybody talk about, making mistakes, because my last thing I want to do is take down something beautiful, but um, I'm also going to be planting. So whatever mistakes that I make can be corrected with something new that can be identified and can have a chance to kind of diversify some of the plant life that's there.
And
There,
just a comment on planting stuff. I've planted things thinking that obviously I would know the next year what they are. But I would recommend putting a tag and writing.
I am, yes.
You don't always remember, even though it seems like, obviously I would know. I don't always know. So I've been better about putting in the tags.
Right. I've never been blessed with a good memory my whole life, and the older I get, the worse it is. So yes, those I see them for sale and they will definitely be everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
I,
Someone else. Oh, yes. Ruth?
I have a comment about identification. The most states have a branch of the Nature Conservancy that does a lot of work on invasive plants management, and they have I'm not sure there's a technical name for them, but they have sheets of for all the invasives that describe that have really good descriptions
Uh,
and um, comments about what they look like compared to other things. And so I can probably I've got a lot of these packed away somewhere, but I'm pretty sure they would be online if you
sure.
go to the Nature Conservancy and look see what they have for if and a link to native or invasive plant identification.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Oh, and that just brought to mind there is a book, and I think it's Brooklyn Botanic Garden. I'm not sure who published it. It's free online, and it's called Mistaken Identity, where it tells you some native lookalikes to invasives, and you can download it for free. I'm pretty sure it's called Mistaken Identity, and I should write that down. I can send out a link to that.
There,
Really nice book because that is an issue. You don't want to cut down something that you would want to keep. Carol,
Hmm.
Carol, do you have?
Yeah, yeah. So I don't have any tips about identification, but I don't know if I may have missed it and early in the conversation, how many other honeysuckles there might be in the woods that shouldn't be removed. I have a feeling there's probably not many, and if it's a honeysuckle, you can take it out. But
Mm.
something I learned this past week is that the honeysuckles are easy. I mean, not if you have thousands of them to remove, but you could just pull them out. You just grab hold and yank them out. And then you have to be careful to not let them touch the ground or their roots to touch the ground because they'll root back down. So actually, Diana and I went down to Lime Hollow and to visit an alternative classroom down there. And anyways, when we were out in the woods and they were showing us how they removed honeysuckle and they hang it upside down on branches so that it doesn't touch the ground. So who
Do
knew? I did not know this.
they hang it upside down and just let it disintegrate?
Yeah, if you don't,
Okay.
I think the point is don't pull it out and just set it down next to where you pulled it out, kind of be mindful that its roots aren't going to come down.
And they're
I don't know,
just
maybe Diana
concerned,
has a better memory of what that was or more comments about that, but
Hmm.
and they're just concerned about oh, the roots, not the branches.
I believe so, yeah, because you know, they were, it's not like they were completely off the ground. The honeysuckles weren't hanging like Christmas ornaments. they, but they were like upside down.
Hmm.
So
remove
this
the
was
roots too,
the
though.
point so you can't let the roots touch the ground even for a moment because it might leave a bit in behind. Is that the idea?
No, I think you can let them touch the ground for a minute. It's when you're done pulling it out and it's just going to sit there for indefinite periods of time that its tendency to sucker back down into the dirt if it's touching the ground. Does that make sense? You know how
So,
roots do that, how they
so
behave?
don't just put it in your compost pile.
Right, let it
Right.
dry out. Let it dry out.
And
Yeah.
there's a very good, it's called honeysuckle pop, I think. That's a tool for getting, the plant out with the root. They're much easier than buckthorn, definitely in the spring.
Another way of identifying that would highlight different parts of the plant is Go Botany, which is a website of the what had been called New England Wildflower Society, which is now Native Plant Trust, and it will give identification markers for different things. So, I mean, it's something that, it's a nice little website that's easy to go to. Any other
I just want to say this is so much nicer than searching online. Having people who have knowledge and experience to share. So thank you all. It's very nice.
Yeah, but and also maybe we should have a question and answer period at the end of each meeting too, if someone has things, because then we generally have even more people there, for a few minutes anyway, because we do have a lot of questions because we are as a society changing from this horticultural model to renaturalizing. So yeah, it's a different way of doing things. Um, let me see here.
If I could, I'd like to speak to the question in the chat about tea bags. I don't see any like the contents, the stuff inside of a tea bag is going to be some sort of a leaf or herb, and it shouldn't be any big deal to put it in your compost or throw it on your garden. But some tea bags are made of microplastics,
Mhm.
and you do need to be careful of what the tea bag is made of.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I was going to say the same thing, Michelle. Maybe you can take the tea out of the bag. I don't know.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
and I've never heard that.
The other comment that I've heard is we put coffee grounds in our mulch bin, but we don't usually actually use that mulch bin for very much because we have a silver maple that just sends its roots up and sucks everything down that it wants. Um, but caffeinated beverage leftovers often have caffeine in them. And apparently, the whole reason that plants make caffeine is that it inhibits other plants from growing and favors the plants that grow that have the caffeine in them. So if you have too much caffeine, there may be some plants that are sensitive to it and that won't grow.
Mm.
Hmm.
hmm
So
Don't know
there's a
what the
reason
range
that
is.
we crave it.
Yeah, it was an interesting article that we read in a science journal not long ago. We were both, and they said, no, it's a very common thing. People tell you to throw coffee grounds in, but somebody's done some experiments now, and it's actually not such a good idea to
Huh,
get too much coffee grounds in there.
huh.
I heard that.
Okay, that's good to know. Let's see if we move on here. Let's see. Amanda had submitted a question about, well, I think a number of times we've talked about having soft landings under trees, and I know the elementary school next to us has a whole row of oak trees, which is great because then the moths and butterflies can lay eggs and then they become caterpillars, and quite often they'll drop down under the tree to spend the winter. But this whole row of oak trees, it has nothing but lawn underneath. So you're becoming a sink rather than a source for more butterflies. So the idea of soft landings is to have a more natural area underneath these trees so that the caterpillars and whatever else will have a place to spend the winter. So then the question is, how do you, if you already have the lawn going up to the trees, which is, the common situation in most of our the areas where we live, how do you get rid of that? And so I had some things with izelplants.com had a good blog post on soft landings, and they suggested to, well, first of all, mow it low. So, and then smother with arborist wood chips rather than cardboard. Arborist wood chips is something that the leaf and limb Project Pando. Project recommends now if you got that from from Wasteland to Wonder, that free book by Basil Camus, Camu. You can download it for free. And he's appeared on Talmy sponsored things. Talmy thought the book was great. He's been on Joe Gardner's program and so on. He also recommends, of course, he is an arborist, so he has them available, but he also recommends arborist wood chips. So you'd mow the grass low, cover with arborist wood chips rather than cardboard. Don't plant within 3 foot of the tree when you can plant, just plant little plugs and then let the plants move on their own closer to the tree. Um, there's the plants I plant in my yard that are good for like a green mulch instead of regular mulch is like wild ginger, bloodroot, foam flower, sedum tornatum, which is the wild sedum, native sedum. So, any other ideas about establishing that soft landing when you're starting with lawn?
You shouldn't put mulch, deep mulch in the root zone too close to the trunk. You know, you've heard about mulch pyramids around trees that you see in commercial places where they come and just pile mulch up against the trunk. You can't smother the tree like that. And as far as lawn is concerned, and your school site next door, lawn needs a higher pH than oak trees do. And so it's absolutely antithetical to one to have the other. That's a bad habitat choice underneath an oak tree. So making the soil inhospitable to lawn is one way to start getting rid of it. You know, put acidic, maybe acidic mulch, I guess, or even acidic soil amendments around the oak trees, and the lawn won't like it. It won't thrive. The lawn would need to be shaded, so planting shallow rooted ground covers that will shade the lawn. I'm experimenting with that a little bit and thinking that maybe squash plants like pumpkins or things with big leaves that are annuals help shade out, both shade new things that you plant and shade out things like grass. But be careful of mulching too deeply in the root zone.
What about leaves? Why can't you just at least take all the leaves that come from the trees and put them around the base of the tree?
Oak, yeah. Well, except for things like oak and beech leaves, they don't decompose very fast. If you have maple leaves or ash or birch leaves, they all have a lot of calcium in them, and those are really good. But oak leaves, if you notice, there's very little that grows underneath an oak forest as far as ground covers, because those leaves are leathery and they make a mat that not much will grow through, and which is good for killing grass. But you can't count on anything having that, and I guess unless they're ground up. But leaving the leaves is generally a good idea. That's what all the pollinator organizations talk about.
So you would not have a bed of plants, but you would still have a soft landing for insects, and they would overwinter there just as they would ordinarily under any oak tree that was in a forest.
Well, I suppose so, but I've seen oak leaves that are so matted together that a caterpillar, part of the caterpillar thing is that they need to burrow into, and the leaves need to be a little fluffy.
And just in passing, when you mentioned the volcano mulching, the leaf and limb people on their YouTube videos. They have a really good video on how to deal with existing volcano mulching and showing what happens when you do that volcano mulching. And so it's if you do have that situation, they do have a good video on that.
I was trying to grow some native ginger in a big patch in my yard in Massachusetts, and that I discovered if even with maple leaves, but mixture of hickory and ash and maple on top of them, if it got too thick in the spring and if it was really wet, it made this mat as well. So I took a leaf rake, the spread out rake, and would just kind of bounce it on the mat of leaves to just lift them a little bit and get some air underneath. And that really made a difference to the ginger, which if the leaves were stayed on, I would see that they had tried to come up underneath the leaves, but all just, got these little white stems that didn't amount to anything because they couldn't get through it. But a rake works great for fluffing them.
Okay, sounds good. Any other thoughts on that? Yeah, Amanda, do you have anything else you want to ask about that?
I didn't really. I was leaning towards putting down arborist chips, just arborist chips anyway. I just was concerned, like, because obviously 3 feet within the tree makes sense to not dig into, but there's a lot of roots farther away that are at the top, at the surface, that I'm really afraid of damaging as well. So I didn't know if probably my best bet is put down arborist chips, let the grass die, and then maybe put seeds down or something for later, rather than plant directly into the soil with plugs or something.
Yeah.
The one article mentioned just little plugs.
Yeah, I had previously tried that, and I just found that I just kept hitting roots. So, I don't know. It's just a lot of roots at the surface, apparently, of this type of tree. So, but at least that verifies that the arborist wood chips is the route that I was thinking might make the most sense. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of leaves because I have this one little tree in my yard. I mean, it's not little, but it doesn't really produce enough leaves to kill the grass around it much. So in a few years, hopefully, maybe, but right now I don't have that option with what I have. So probably going to be the arborist wood chip method.
But sometimes John collects neighbors' leaves. They put them out in these bags, and so, we let them.
I've done that, and then we've found things in them that we didn't really want in our yard. Like people in my neighborhood like to put rocks and stuff like that in them. So, and as much as I love rocks, I don't need a million of them. So we haven't had a whole lot of luck with that. Most of our people in our area just rake them to the street, and a truck comes through and sucks them up, I guess. So I don't know. I'll figure it out. Thank you.
One of the questions in chat was, where would you get arborist chips?
Have you researched that, Amanda?
I know there's a chip drop that can do it, but that I haven't not probably going to use that because you might have a chance of getting a very big load that I can't handle. But you can supposedly schedule using chip drop. You can schedule a load be dropped off on your property, and then you can do whatever you need with the chips. I have seen recommendations to call local tree removers and that kind of thing. Some might be willing to just come drop off an amount to you for free, so they don't have to get rid of it themselves, because I guess it costs them money to get rid of it. There's also places that sell them that I might go that route because I can control how many I get, because I can't handle a lot of them myself. But and they seem to be, there's one in Syracuse that they're
Where is
tree
that?
people.
Hafner's?
You have to ask me. No.
Okay.
One second. Let me find them.
Is it Treelanders or is it a
I haven't looked at them since the spring, so I can't remember. It might be, yeah, I think you're right. It's Treelanders. I think they have undyed wood chips. And you can buy them per yard and have them delivered. That's probably what I'm going to do to control the amount I get. Not that that's probably the optimal way of doing it, but we have a very small driveway and lawn, and I don't want to overwhelm us when there's only two of us who can move everything. So
Okay.
But when you say chip drop, I just Googled it because I'd never heard of it. And I see a website called getchipdrop.com. Is that what you meant?
yes, yep. Yeah, generally, but basically it's free, I believe. You sign up on their website and then basically they just send this information out to local arborists, tree removal people, and they can drop this off, load off into your driveway or yard, wherever you choose, but you don't really get to choose how much you're going to get.
Yeah, and I would be worried
So
about the sourcing of it too. I mean, are you really in more trouble, you know?
that's also a concern. And it's not going to
Yeah.
be maybe, I mean, it won't just be wood chips, it'll be other stuff in it potentially.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
definitely want to read the frequently asked questions because we looked at it and you can get so much grass, two handfuls of dirt, or two handfuls of trash. So
Right.
they do clearly lay out the expectations, but I think it's probably suitable for a very limited number of people. You want to be very careful and make sure it does suit your application.
In my case, I think I'll stick with my leaves. I've got a ton of oak leaves also, and as everyone was mentioning, they do make a good thick mat.
Okay. Any other comments
Uh,
on that question?
I have um, a mulcher, which basically vacuums up my leaves and turns it into mulch, just cuts it all up. So, and I have so many leaves that anybody is welcome to come over and get them from my house. I got a million.
Doesn't that kill the insects that are overwintering in them, mulching them?
Yeah, yeah. I don't mulch all my leaves, just a certain segment, but might as well use my leaves instead of having to buy something.
Okay. Any other comments, or should we move on
Mm.
to the next one? So let's see. There was let me see if I let me see. Oh, well, there was a question. I don't think Cecilia is on the call today, but she had submitted a question about when and how to prune. And it wasn't mentioned like which plants or anything. If it was woody, the leaf and limb, which is the Basil Camus um, Pando project or Project Pando, um, they have some really nice videos on YouTube, on their YouTube channel, about structural pruning of woodies, trees and shrubs and so on. And so that would give some good hints about that. If you're talking about herbaceous plants, uh, Xerxes has a nice article about don't spring into garden cleanup too soon. So you wait for a while till it's been consistently warm. They have some tests like have you put away your winter clothes and shovel and so on. So maintain those uh, dead material because there might still be insects living in there. And so give them a chance to leave. But basically, waiting until it's warm enough. Uh, but then you can cut them back to some different heights so that this year's insects will have a place to lay their eggs and so on. So I usually leave a lot of my stuff, and it's amazing how quickly the new growth will cover it up. So the insects are really important to give them a chance. Xerxes has a really nice, but we have handed it out at different times, like just a third of a page front and back, and it shows you, and it's on their website too. It shows you each season what insects are doing, whether they're still in the egg stage or so on. But those are things we don't see. We just see dead stems, but there are things happening inside those dead stems that we really need to be careful of. And Xerces is a great resource for that. But basically, don't cut them too soon, and you don't have to cut them to the ground. Leave some of them for this year's insects.
I have a question about that, Janet. Like, with very windy, bad weather, a lot of the stalks break anyway. Um, and if they do, but they're still in your garden, do the insects, they're okay, aren't they?
I would assume so. I mean, I don't know. I'm not an expert on that, but I would think they would still be able to come out.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of
I leave them.
analogously, if you wanted to break some off or cut some off and leave them in your garden, it seems like the insects would still be okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know if it's yeah, I mean, like I really don't know. I mean, that would be a good question for, I don't know if Cersei's ever,
Yeah, I don't know either. I don't
there's
know either.
questions like
It's
that, but
huh?
that's a good question to think about. I think the idea of leaving some, I think they recommend leaving some like 18 inches and some 24 inches, just so there's something for this year. But I don't know where we would find the answer to that. I wonder if Tally would answer that question if we sent something. Oh, yeah.
Xerxes.
Homegrown. Yeah. I don't know if they have a place to ask questions there.
Oh, well, they might have the information.
Yeah, if you happen to find it, but yeah, we could try. What we could try emailing Homegrown National Park about leaving stalks on the ground. That would be a good thing to know. Um, if we found out from an expert, we'll try to follow up on that. Okay, let me see here if there's another.
Amanda has her hand up.
I was gonna say I've read in those situations that people will cut. Um, Often they're using the previous year's growth to house themselves. So if we're talking stalks that are just the flowers on the top, they may not very just haven't you haven't cut back yet. They may not be using the tops of that. It's generally in the 12 to 24 inch, maybe 36-inch range. So if you have stalks that you suspect have something in them, I have read that you just set them up the way that they would normally be set up in the garden. Just bundle them up and put them, like stand them up kind of. And if there is something in there, they'll just leave when the time comes. But usually they're housing in the shorter stems because I'm assuming like historically deer have chomped down a lot of those flowers and the bees all find the homes in those chopped down flowers. So they would be less likely to fall over, I think, in the wind. But from what I've read, if you just leave those in the garden standing up, that should allow them to leave, the insects to leave if they are in those stems, if that helps at all.
As opposed to lying down.
What was that?
As opposed to lying down?
Yeah, because I guess, well, water might get into it and could ruin stuff. So if it's standing in the direction that they were originally standing, the insects would more likely be able to get out in their normal, whatever they do, birth or whatnot.
Well, generally, for a lot of things, as I've tried different things over the years, it always seems like, even I used to get the bee houses and so on. And it always seems like the more you can create or recreate what nature does, the better off we are for lots of reasons.
Yes.
Rather than, I mean, it's natural to want to help by putting bee houses and things, but by, putting what has always been there for thousands of years, renaturalizing seems to generally in lots of ways just be the best way to go. So that would be that same idea, I guess.
Yeah.
I say I find I leave most of the stuff and the new green growth covers it up. more quickly than you would think, really. It's kind of interesting watching, really, to see that being covered up. I did take pictures of one plant being covered up. I should post them sometimes. Every week or so I took a picture to see how that changed through the summer. But anyway, something I guess we need to learn more about and think more about. Um, any other comments on that? I can move on to some of the other questions that were submitted. Of course, a common one is deer and rabbits.
Mm.
We find that in our front yard, now in our backyard, we have it fenced in, and it's also surrounded by a thick row of bushes and things. So generally, unless someone forgets to close the gate to the backyard, we don't get deer in the backyard. But in the front, they're definitely out there. I've seen them, and we do have a lot of plants mixed in with other plants that they don't like spice bush and mountain mint, and any other the hyssops and any other minty type things that they don't like mixed in. And I think they find that the neighbors is a better
Menu.
grocery store. Yeah. And if you have enough plants, there's some little nibbling, it's like a natural Chelsea chop, I guess. But
Yeah.
we don't have a really big problem, especially, with a vegetable garden. It would have been more of a problem if the deer get in the backyard. We keep our vegetables out there, but that's been our experience by having enough of those things that they don't like, the really strong tasting things, and enough of the other plants. So, just as a reminder, we do have a list on our website, a fact sheet, which is just a compilation from what, like, Ellen from Amanda's Garden and other native plant societies and so on. It's a compilation of what they list as plants that are really attractive to deer, all the way through to plants that deer don't like. So you're welcome to download that also. So any other comments about that, Carol?
I don't have a comment about that, but there's people who are on this call who are asking questions, so we probably should go to those.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, now I don't have that up there. So if you can be in charge of that, that'd
Yeah, I don't, so, let's see, somebody further up said, and this could take up a whole meeting. Can we discuss specialist plants and their bees/insects?
That was me. Sorry. I realized that after I put it on that it's a whole topic of
It is a
discussion.
whole topic.
But I thought just maybe a couple of things, because we haven't really talked about pollinators much, and just maybe a few examples to keep it short might be helpful.
But are you familiar with Cornell's book on specialist bees?
No.
You can download that for free.
Okay. What's the
And
name of it, Janet?
I can't remember, but
Is it on our website?
I'll see if I can find it and put it in the chat.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can download it for free, and I can't remember the scientist, the guy who's in charge of it.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, it's an excellent book, and it is for the Northeast too.
Yeah. Well, the reason I asked was, I think when I spoke with you the last time, you mentioned that Colony Turtlehead had a specialist bee for it. So I have some native pollinators in my garden. I was just curious to brush on a few of them as to whether or not there were specialist bees with them, but I'll look for the book.
Yeah.
Because I think it's interesting.
Yeah. Oh, and also, I believe that's, if you look on our native plant shopping guide, there's the little icon for the bee.
Okay.
And that's, I have to look again. I think I indicating that it's a specialist bee.
Okay. Thank you.
So yeah, that because it is important to provide for those specialist bees, because generalist bees can use them as well. So.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Plant a chestnut and get that new chestnut bee.
Ah.
Okay.
So then Mary Beth, who's worked up the courage to get rid of that Norway maple, she asks, after I remove the Norway maple, how close to the stump can I plant another tree or shrub? And then Michelle says, if it's invasive, I would think you'd want to ground out the stump. But I'm not sure if Norway maple is a suckering thing, but
Well, not because it suckers, but because they'll put up shoots. Haven't you ever taken out a stump and had it throw up shoots?
oh yeah, but
Yeah.
not all trees will do that. I don't know if, so I guess the question is, anyone on this call, if have they removed a Norway maple and what is the behavior? Did they have the stump ground out or if they didn't, what happened? That kind of thing. Anybody?
Ruth has.
Ruth.
I haven't ever taken one out, but I do know that they are strongly allelopathic, meaning their roots, which are close to the surface and spread widely, they are designed to poison other plants except their own seedlings.
Like black walnuts.
And so I don't know how long you have to wait before you plant anything under it, but don't plant anything precious. You know, something that spreads on its own. You can tell quickly whether or not it's happy underneath the Norway maple, which also has very deep shade. It's a much denser plant than most of the other maples. So it's kind of a crapshoot what will grow well under probably some other invasive thing. Like I've seen abundant Pachysandra underneath Norway maples.
So when it's cut down, what do you think, if it's cut right down to the ground, you know, and the stump is almost level with the ground, do you think that it needs to be ground out? Because I'm assuming that's an extra cost too, to have it ground out. If
it is, I don't know if it will resprout. Some of the maples will resprout and become multi-stem instead of single trunk, but it's more the toxin of its roots that I think are a problem than the resprouting.
Right. So one of our members did have a Norway maple removed, Jennifer Staples, and I can find out from her. She had that taken down a few years ago, and I can ask her about her experience. Okay. Hope that helps, Mary Beth, with your
There was
courage.
another question somewhat related to that later down from Mary Beth. Where was it? About acidifying. What's the best way to acidify the soil for service berries and other plants? That sounds like it might be one that was a little quicker. Some of the others and sort of related.
What do we use?
I used muric acid because I didn't have any pine needles or anything like that. I realized that my soil was not acid enough for the spruce bush and the shad bush and the like whatever else I've planted in the yard. So I just put a little bit of that on. It seemed to perk them up a little bit.
Which is basically sulfur. I mean, it's a sulfur based. Anything sulfur is going to add acid. If you are lucky enough to have pine needles or oak leaves, those just do it naturally. I've got a very acid yard.
What about white cedar? That has fallen to the ground. It's died.
I don't. Not sure. That wood will last a long time. You could use it for fence posts, by the way. White cedar is a good lumber plant.
But what about when it drops its leaves? The dead leaves from it?
Oh, I suppose. It has needles, right.
Are there good companion plants to some of these plants you're talking about that would, you know, like planting pine or something that has sulfur in it next to a service berry that would make sense rather than amending the soil?
Not sure. Look, they grow naturally around here, and I guess looking at what their habitat is.
Service berries?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have them in my garden, but I was just saying, as opposed to adding a soil amendment like muric acid, are there companion things that could be planted near it that naturally could help? I mean, I guess short of planting pine trees near it, what else might be, and Janet, companion plants in general is sort of what I'm referring to, that benefit other plants within their area instead of always having to amend soil.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, there's some problems with pH in particular that, you know, if you're in an area that's where the soil is pretty alkaline, you've got the bedrock there or the limestone, that it's nothing that you're going to ever do that's really going to change the pH very much. If you got thick soil and you can, you don't have that kind of problem. It's like people planting azaleas right next to their house. Well, no, the foundation of the house is itself alkaline, and suddenly, you know, these plants start to die because it's really hard to fight that continual alkaline effect of the
Yeah, I
house.
I agree with the idea that if we're trying to put things back to nature, it's better to work with nature and plant the things that'll wanna live where you with what you got.
Can someone discuss the simplicity of doing a soil test, how you actually get it somewhere? And I know Cornell Cooperative Extension does it, but has anyone done their soil test so that they could talk about it?
I am. With the Cornell Cooperative Extension, every couple of years I go around my garden and I just take a little bucket and I'll take a scoop of dirt from different areas and mix it all together. And then you get a cup or two. I forget how much they ask for. They do tell you on their website, into a Ziploc baggie, and you send it into them with a little form and $10 or something. I don't remember. Yeah.
By mail. Okay.
There's a cooperative extension in Syracuse somewhere.
Cornell.
Yeah, and you can look that up and you can get the forms you need to fill out.
Yeah, it's Cornell Cooperative Extension in Syracuse.
Yeah.
The Master Gardener program, probably.
Right, yes.
Okay.
Right. They have all you need.
Right.
Okay.
The idea is just to get a sample from different areas and mix it up so that they have a sample that is representative of an area.
Okay, thank you.
I think another thing to remember is that it's not just the chemical composition, it's the life in the soil. And that's what, I had the article in the last or the time or two, maybe last Wildlands Journal, about that soil your undies thing to see if there's life in your soil. That's another really important component of soil. The structure, because we put stepping stones throughout our yard so that there's a place to step without stepping in just any old spot, because a lot of that damage to the structure of the soil is with that first step. And in our edible garden, permanent raised beds, they've been with the paths in between the raised beds, and we've only stepped on those paths for I don't know, I guess 30 or 40 years now for much of that garden, to keep the soil structure. So the life in the soil structure is just as important as that chemical composition.
Yeah, and the tests that Cornell does, they don't test for the life in the soil. Is that right, Janet?
Right.
They just test for pH and composition. Yeah, chemical. Yeah.
Find an old pair of underwear if you want to test for life in the soil. And you put that in there after a couple of months. If it disappears, then except for the elastic part, there's life in the soil. The USDA does this with farmers, and they have examples on their website of underwear that's been extracted after a couple of months, all the way from underwear where the only part left is the elastic, all the way to the some underwear that was in there a couple of months and is almost in perfect condition still, except you probably wouldn't want us to wear it. But anyway,
is that cotton underwear?
Pardon?
I'm assuming that's cotton underwear.
Yeah. Yeah, but the idea that there is that range,
it's a good idea.
The soil, so that's just as important as because we've gotten used to thinking, because that's what they will sell, that's what they can sell in a store, is the stuff to change the,
Mm.
all those other, adding,
Right,
phosphorus,
right.
adding.
Is that Gordon Lightfoot right now? I can't hear anything.
What was it?
I was
I'm
gonna,
sorry,
I was
Gordon
gonna add
Lightfoot.
that if all you care about is the pH of your soil, it's very easy to get little test strips or a little
Yeah, right.
meter to test the pH of your soil. You don't have to send it to the cooperative extension. The main benefit of sending it to the cooperative extension is if you're a gardener trying to raise vegetables and you want, like, please tell me what do I need to add to this so that I can grow broccoli this year, and they'll give you suggestions, to add X amount of this or that or the other so that you'll do well. But it's not necessary if you just want to know your pH.
Yeah. Yep. Yes, Jean?
Yeah, I have a question, Janet. You said something about stepping stones so that you don't walk on the soil where your plants are growing.
Mhm.
That's something that I have not heard of, and when I weed, I just walk around things, and there's mulch on top in
Yeah.
places, but I just pull my weeds. Am I doing something harmful to the soil by doing that?
Well, I think it's better to not walk on it. I mean, obviously if your plants are still growing, you haven't totally ruined it, but I just I would like to keep the soil just, just like it's like going off the path in a park where they encourage you to stay on the path. And
Okay.
the path does get really packed down. So I mean, there's times when I've had to just, you know, step on something, but um, I try not to. I try to, I have those stones where I can step and so I can get places within the beds without, stepping down on it.
So you can just reach in. So you put
Yeah,
your paths, your plantings would be small enough that you can reach in and pull things out or cut back without actually stepping into that space.
well, I step onto the
Well, I
stepping.
really,
Yeah,
yeah, you stay on your blocks or whatever they
yeah,
are.
and it's not a path of stones. It's like a stone here and a stone there.
Oh, okay. I thought they were paths everywhere.
Well, I do have paths, but within the beds, I
Mm.
put some larger stones that I can stand on,
Ah,
just so I can get to everywhere's in larger
Mm.
beds without stepping on things, because I know the stones are there.
all right. Thank you. That's a good one too,
Oh,
especially in large areas
Yeah,
because it don't want to undo what I'm trying to do by walking over everything to plant or to weed or to cut back.
yeah.
So there's another question Mary Beth asked about, says she suspects her soil is contaminated with heavy metals. How can I find out about this? Does anyone know if that's what Cornell tests for, lead or whatever?
it
Mm,
will, but it costs more.
yeah. Yeah.
It costs extra to be tested for the heavy
Yep,
metals.
yep.
And if you do find you have particular things, there's something called phytoremediation, and so you can plant certain things that are then taken up in the plant, and the plant itself then becomes something you want to not put in compost, you want to discard in a responsible way because the idea is that that metal is taken up into the plant, so you have to treat that in a way that you would treat something toxic.
Uh-huh.
And there's certain ones for certain metals. I don't know what they are, but I'm sure you can find out.
Uh-huh. Mhm.
Mary?
Yeah, do you think adding the keystone natives to existing ornamental gardens is a good way to start adding natives into because some people have very established, expensive plants that maybe they don't want to get totally rid of right away? Is a good idea to introduce natives into one's gardens.
Sure.
Yeah, but
Like going a certain percentage of natives to the ornamentals as a starting point.
Yeah, you can, you can't do everything all at once. You have to, have a vision where you want to reach in 10 years or whatever and work toward that. And so it's a process, but yeah, you can start out. But yeah, adding the keystone plants might be a good way because they're going to provide more benefits than just a regular plant. And I think ultimately, Talma usually says to aim for at least 70% native. Yeah, and I try to get higher than that because it's just important to me. I have a very expensive compost pile because for years I was an ornamental gardener and I bought all those expensive named varieties of daylilies and hosta, and I composted them all.
Okay.
So, but you can't do it all at once. You have that vision of where you want to end up and just work toward it. And telling me, knowing that people do like a lot of these plants, I think uh, he says aim for at least 70% natives. I imagine he probably goes beyond that. But anyway, it's a good goal.
Okay, thank you.
So we're at a little after 3, and we've been on for an hour and a half. So I don't know if you want to wrap it up or if anyone has any burning questions.
Yeah, Carol, are there any others in the chat that need to be answered or?
See, Donna can confirm this, but I see Patricia asked about natural mulch laid a number. Oh, last 3 summers with natural mulch. And then she got that dog vomit fungus, which is quite disturbing when you see it. Appeared in a number of areas. I thought I would go back to light brown color, but without success. Is this a case of bad luck or is it a fool's errand to repeat mulching? Is it just because you want to get rid of, you don't want to see that ugly fungus? Patricia?
Yes, yeah. It's not attractive.
Oh, it's gross.
And the dog denies it.
That's all those fungi are really interesting though. Yeah, I mean I would kind of just want to learn more about fungus and use that as an example. It's really fascinating. There's a lot of really neat things, but
yeah, I've had it, I have had mulch put down. I haven't put mulch down in years, but I remember when that came up and it's like, what the heck is that? So I just stopped putting mulch down and haven't noticed it.
There was also those mushroom type things, like with a horn on it. I mean, a variety of things. It's like, what is this?
Yeah.
Anybody? Should I charge, admission to look at this?
Call it the fungus zoo.
There you go. Yeah.
There is geez, I think it's called, so I want to do it here because we have a forest here and we have a lot of really interesting fungus. And I think there's a fungal diversity community science project I want to look into and try to do that. But yeah, it's really interesting. That's a really important part of nature. So I would take it as an opportunity to learn more about whatever particular fungus you have.
But it does not have any merit, does it? Other than its
the
uniqueness?
mycorrhizae and everything. I mean, yeah, I think, it's an important
system. If it's caused by putting mulch down, then you can just stop putting mulch down. That's what I did.
Living mulch, favorite ground covers for living mulch. Janet?
Oh, I have I think I read them off before. I've lost my thing here, but
wild ginger.
The wild ginger, foam flower, sedum ternatum is a really neat one because and I bought one plant. That's another thing. They say to plant in groups of 3 and 5, which is a nice design idea, but it's expensive. So you can start with one with the idea of creating a patch as they grow, learn to recognize volunteer seedlings, and sometimes you can divide them so you can end up with that. But in terms of money, you buy one, but
but it doesn't grow over. I mean, it just appears like in full force, like there was no warning signs, like something's going on with this mulch here. All of a sudden, it just, phew. It's
Mhm.
there, right in your face.
Yeah.
Huh?
Okay.
Right now at our house here, we have a ton of these little puffball type things, and they're all over the place. But they're kind of interesting actually. But
They don't discriminate. They like native and they like, non-native plant areas.
Fungus is a very important part of a healthy soil microbe, so it might
Okay.
not be a bad
Okay.
thing to know. I mean,
Okay.
it's a very important thing to have in your soil, different
Okay.
funguses. You don't
Thank
want to
you.
get rid of them.
Thank you.
yeah, I'll try to put some stuff in the next newsletter, or in the next couple of newsletters anyway. But
And for ground covers, I mean, there's
Yeah.
Ziza aurea, there's golden ragwort, there's the wild strawberries, there's violets. So there are quite a few ground
Okay.
covers that are attractive.
yeah.
All right.
And as the sedum tornatum, I was going to say I bought one, and you can just take it multiplies, and you can take I mean, the root system is really tiny, and you can just take it and put it somewhere in a blank spot, and it seems to take pretty easily, and it's very attractive. And weeds don't seem to, if once you get a little patch of it, weeds don't seem to grow up through it.
What's the last part of it? Sedum tornatum?
TERNATUM. It's
Okay.
a native wild sedum, and it has really pretty flowers, but only in spring. But the foliage is attractive, and I've found it really useful for that. But like those other things, the ginger and bloodroot and so on are nice also.
Epimedium. Okay.
Yeah, green mulch instead of buying, the packaged black mulch, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess, we are kind of over time here, but thank you so much for your contributions. And, we don't all have to be experts because we've all experimented with different things in our yards and we've learned different things. So it's good to have a chance to share what we learn so we don't all have to reinvent the wheel all the time. And we should probably do this more often, have some time for some questions. Yes,
Yeah,
Carol?
that's what I was going to ask if you felt that this was worth repeating, like, in
Oh,
6 months or something.
I found it very, very helpful.
Yep.
Yeah.
Plus, it's just interesting seeing what people are doing.
Yeah.
And, we all have our own experiences and, just to, stay excited about gardening and, you're helping life on Earth, what can be more interesting, especially now when it's really urgent. We really need to do all we can.
Yes. A short Q&A after each meeting seems like that would be really helpful too.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for attending today, and especially for Amanda and Donna getting this all organized and running. I'm so glad they can do this.
Yes, me too. Yay.
Mostly Donna in this case.
Okay.
The links to things that we've discussed, that we've brought up, have been very helpful in the comments. The links to the different.
Yeah. Is there some way, can we keep
Donna's going to be sending an email including the links.
Oh,
good.
perfect. Perfect.
Okay. Yep. That'd be great. Okay. So thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
And happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Okay. Yes.
Happy Thanksgiving.
See you in January.
Yep.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.